What is going on, guys, and welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to be breaking down the KUNKKA versus Ember Spirit matchup. This is one of the most 50-50 matchups in the mid lane, and I'll tell you why. This matchup comes down to pure and overall skill, because Ember Spirit is one of these heroes that could just dodge your abilities, and if you're a good KUNKKA player, you can obviously fake it to where you force the Ember Spirit to use Sleight of Fist, and that way he cannot dodge Tidebringer. So it honestly depends on how good of a KUNKKA player you are, and if you can land your torrents correctly and catch him off guard so you can kill the range creep and do some chip damage onto him. But you both have a way to reset. Even though KUNKKA has a faster way to reset the lane with X marks the spot and his bottle, he is able to sustain through the Sleight of Fist harassment because KUNKKA is a low armor hero as he is a strength hero, so he's definitely going to be eating up a lot of those Sleight of Fists. And especially if the Ember Spirit goes for an Orb of Corrosion, he can be in a decent amount of trouble. And I definitely recommend for the Ember Spirit to take an early point in chains, as there's a lot of kill threat for you to have on the KUNKKA, and if you take a few points in Flame Guard, you're going to be doing so much damage that you're going to be forcing him to take a point in X marks the spot to be able to reset, go back to base, and get his bottle refilled and back to full HP. And it's a really long cooldown in the early levels of X marks the spot, so if you force that early and you get a support rotation, that KUNKKA is not going to be able to get away from you, and you're definitely going to get a pretty good kill. In terms of power spikes, KUNKKA hits a much later power spike than the Ember does, because Ember's phase boots Maelstrom build is a lot faster than KUNKKA's armlet build with phase boots. It's definitely a lot slower, but KUNKKA does farm faster than the Ember Spirit, definitely consumes a lot less mana for his abilities, as Tidebringer doesn't require any mana, and Torrent is pretty solid overall, but it's definitely not a great farming tool. So if you go for some stacks when you have some free time in the mid lane, especially if you shove it in to the Ember Spirit, you can go for a stack or you can go take a stack and definitely increase your farm. Ember is definitely much better at rotating than KUNKKA. That's definitely one of the sectors where KUNKKA definitely lacks, and why I think this hero has dropped a little bit in terms of win rate. But currently he has a 55% win rate in Ancient, which is honestly very strong for this hero. He has a higher win rate than Ember in general across all MMR brackets, so there's definitely some power potential for this hero. I just think it's really slow for most games. This hero late game is an absolute monster. Some people will put 2 Daedalus on this hero and just absolutely shred people. You cannot underestimate this hero whatsoever, and if you can land your Tidebringers and use your cleave side angles, you will be getting so many kills that are completely unexpected. You definitely need to understand this hero. It's definitely not very hard to play, but landing your boat combo can be very difficult sometimes. And on a hero like Ember, it can be very difficult as he can dodge with his remnants. So you need to make sure that you force his remnants out. Make sure you keep track of how many remnants he's used, and then you can go for your boat combo and definitely get rid of him. Or you can play with supports like Lion who have an insta hex ability, or with a Shadow Shaman to hold him down for a free combo. It's definitely always recommended to play KUNKKA with a lineup that can have easy setup for boat. Torrent Storm is one of the best abilities in the game, as it's a very good control ability, and in a big team fight where everybody's just clumped up together, can provide a lot of value and control for your team. But the Ember will definitely be pressuring the map much harder than the KUNKKA will. KUNKKA is a very greedy hero in general from the mid lane, so he definitely needs some time to farm up his items, and the Ember will be able to keep better rune control, I'd say, especially if he gets help from his supports. The KUNKKA is going to be a little bit stranded with that, so the Ember will most likely get more rotations than the KUNKKA done, as this hero definitely rotates quite slowly, and you're not always guaranteed the kill, as boat doesn't really do as much damage as level 1. It's more of a control and stun spell or survivability, as the run buff is pretty much the best part of this ultimate. It makes this hero super tanky, it delays a lot of the damage, and it can save you from a pretty sticky situation when you're getting ganked in the mid lane. So definitely play passively early on with the KUNKKA, get your farm up, and eventually you will be shredding this Ember Spirit, as Ember is not a hero that likes to build armor items, as Tidebringer is physical damage. So Ember just likes to play the outskirts of the map, poke around the supports, and just control the squishy heroes. He definitely doesn't like to man fight the KUNKKA, as he doesn't have nearly enough damage, especially with the armlet buildup. KUNKKA has a lot more armor and is definitely a lot stronger than him, so it's a definite hard kill to get. So Ember is definitely going to be avoiding you at all costs. But a lot of KUNKKA players tend to go for Orchid, which is a very strong item against Ember, as you're forcing him to definitely go for BKB or Eul Scepter, and Eul Scepter isn't a really good item anymore to go with the Ember Spirit. Even with the magical build, it's just not worth it. It feels really bad to have to go for that item, so he's definitely going to have to go for the BKB. and that's an item Ember likes to go for but not rush it. It definitely feels pretty bad to go second item BKB, as you lack a lot of damage, especially if the KUNKKA is out farming you, which he definitely should, as he can farm stacks a lot faster than you can. He can stack the camps with Torrent. It is very difficult to do, but if you master KUNKKA and you know how to stack with Torrents, it's a very important ability to be able to efficiently stack without being close to the camp. It's honestly one of the best tools for any KUNKKA player. Definitely very strong. And in the late game, when you have yourself a Bloodthorn, it's very strong because you can just wait for the Ember Spirit to pop BKB, and you're so survivable with your ultimate that you'll be able to use Bloodthorn and just absolutely destroy him. Especially if he's going for the magical Ember build, you're going to be shutting down a lot of his damage by having the Mage Slayer, which is a really good build up. You can also go Radiance as well, but Radiance isn't as popular from the mid lane anymore, as it's extremely greedy. Unless you have a very non-farm heavy carry, I definitely don't recommend the Radiance build. It is good against illusion heroes, but I definitely feel like Radiance just falls off, and the Armlet build is just overall pretty solid. It's a lot cheaper, gets you online much quicker, so you can actually go for rotations, get some really good ganks, and get a lot of kills around the map, so you can snowball pretty hard on this KUNKKA, because late game you are a pretty big threat, especially if you go for the double Daedalus build. It's very strong. You can also get a Silver Edge, which is a fantastic item on KUNKKA. I definitely recommend the Aghanim Scepter overall, just because it's a very good team fight tool. I definitely wouldn't rush it because it's not as good as it was before, but it's still worth getting, so definitely keep that in mind. And the Ember definitely has to play a lot more defensive and a lot more careful. If you go for the Bloodthorn build, it's definitely gonna destroy him and force him to pop more BKBs than he'd like to, and then you can just wait on that cooldown and fight more consistently. Definitely let me know in the comment section below what do you guys think about this matchup. I definitely think it's one of the most even matchups in terms of the laning phase in Dota, but the game definitely sways towards the KUNKKA's favor over the Ember, especially in terms of being able to dish out damage in the team fights. Ember definitely wins that just because of the nature of Sleight of Fist. It hits more targets, but a really good KUNKKA will definitely get the right angles on cleave and will hit those Tidebringers on supports, and eventually just absolute two-shot or one-shot any support in the game with the double Daedalus build. It's definitely very strong. You can even do it to the Ember, as Ember is a very elusive hero, but he's not a very tanky hero. Even when he's pretty built, he's still not a tanky hero, and those crits hurt a lot. And X Marks the Spot is a very good ability. As long as you have Orchid as well, it's going to be able to catch any hero off guard. You're going to be getting a ton of pickoffs, and it's a very good item to build on this hero. The Ember definitely needs to be careful, and I would recommend Ember players to play a little bit more tanky. You can get yourself an AC, which is a very solid item and very underestimated when it comes to Ember builds. I think a lot of Ember players want to be very greedy and they don't want to buy this item. I think it's a really solid item, and offlane players don't tend to want to rush an item like Assault Cuirass, so it's a very good pickup if you really need it. Or you can go for Shiva's Guard, which will give you that extra armor, which is still fantastic if you're going for the magical Ember build. Otherwise, it's not making much sense. If you're going for physical Ember, it doesn't make a lot of sense for you to get the Shivas. That's why you get the AC. It's definitely a really good build up. And if the KUNKKA definitely wants to be shredding people, you get yourself a Desolator and an AC. You're going to be absolutely obliterating people. You add a Silver Edge or a Daedalus to that mix, there's very few heroes that won't get one shot in the game. So it's definitely a very strong build. Definitely let me know what you guys think about KUNKKA in the current meta. I definitely think this hero is a little bit too slow for my liking, so I don't play it as much as I used to. And I think Ember is in a really okay spot. He's not that great, but he's not really that bad. He still has his really good matchups. I just think KUNKKA can definitely outplay him, and Ember can do as well. So it definitely comes down to how good you are on the hero and how good your opponent is at the hero. That's definitely what it comes down to, as both of these heroes could definitely kill each other in the mid lane, and it's very volatile, so you need some rotations, and it's a very fun matchup. I love matchups that are just 50-50. They're based on skill, and not that you're being absolutely countered and just losing just because of the matchup and the nature of the heroes. I love this matchup. It's one of my favorite matchups in the mid lane, and I love playing it from both perspectives, as outplaying the enemy hero is my favorite part of Dota. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this breakdown. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Who wins this matchup? My opinion, it's a straight up 50-50 and all depends on skill, but I'd like to know you guys' opinion in the comments. I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.